I'm so excited because it's time to welcome our first speaker. Our first speaker today is a coach, executive, project. He's coaching executives and project leaders and teams across the world. Today, with him, we will going beyond theory, beyond titles, and beyond potential, because he's been a CEO and NASDAQ company VP, and now leads Altus leadership, helping organizations rise to their potential every day. Also, the important facts continue. He's 2 meters tall. Could you imagine? He's passionate about leadership and carbs. And when he's not traveling or speaking around the world, he's spending time with his wife of 39 years, their 5 children, and wait for it, 10 grandchildren. So, are you ready to lead with more awareness, more flexibility, and more listening impact?
We're ready.
Yes?
We're ready.
Sounds fantastic. In this case, please give a warm PMI Bulgaria welcome to Spencer Horn.
Thank you, Enea. Yeah, the 10th grandchild is due today. Did you know that? Today, that 10th grandchild. So we're so excited. I am so excited to be with you today. You know a little bit about me now. Would you like to know what I know about you? Because I've been watching you, and I have been researching project managers for 15 years. But if you really want to know who's in the room, I know there's 3 types of people in the room. We have to do some research together. Are you okay to do that? Okay, I see a couple heads, no, Tudor, rest of you? Okay, so here's what I need you to do. If you're interested in participating in my research, I need you to stand up, please. Go ahead, stand where you are. And I want you to get into a power stance. That's with your feet about shoulder width apart, okay? Suck in your butt, throw back your shoulders, stick out your chest. And I want you to put your hands about shoulder width apart like this, okay? Now in just a moment, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you to clap your hands together 1 time, but hold on, you need to keep your hands together once you do that. Understood? Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now hold them together. Now here's what I need you to do. I need you to look at your hands. If your left hand is over the right hand, I want you to raise it up in the air, please. Okay, I need you to look around the room. These people right here, based on extensive 15 years of research, are the smart people. If, on the other hand, your right hand is over your left hand, raise that up, please. Okay, look around the room. These people, again, based on very, very serious research, are the sexy people. Okay, but here's the third group. If your hands were together like this, one was not over the other, they were both like this, would you raise your hands up, please? Look around the room. Okay, this is important. Again, very serious scientific research says these are the people who think they are sexy. Please take your seats. Did you know, I know you know this, 70% of all projects fail. There are 3 reasons why projects fail. Number 1, ineffective communication. I'll be talking about that tomorrow in a workshop. Number 2, unclear goals or scope creep. Number 3, ineffective or poor leadership. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. We're going to move quickly. What defines you as a leader? Is it your strengths or your weaknesses that you somehow convinced yourself are strengths? You know what I mean? That the moment when somebody says, I just tell it like it is, and everybody in the room braces for impact. Or the person who says, you know, I'm really detail-oriented, which is project manager for code, for I'm going to email you 27 times about the font size on slide number 7. Here's the thing, we love our strengths. We lean in, we own them, we post about them on LinkedIn. But sometimes our strengths overused become a weakness. In high-performance racing, we call that drag, forces that slow you down no matter how powerful your engine is. And sometimes drag on projects teams can really slow the effectiveness of your team down, even when you're working really, really hard. So today let's talk about the other side of those strengths. Really those strengths that we don't talk about or post about on social media. Let's figure out how to reduce your leadership drag so that you can lead faster, stronger, and with no more excuses about poor behavior. Years ago, I had the opportunity to work with one of the most authentic leaders I've ever known. His name was Kelvin Cullimore. He was the CEO of not one, but two publicly traded companies. Kelvin led with heart, he led with humility, he had incredibly high standards. And when he hired me, he didn't just interview me. He flew my wife, Jana, and me to the site of our first project. You see, he wanted to see how I treated her, how we interacted in public, how we handled the stress of the moment. He wasn't just hiring a resume, he was hiring a leader to represent his company, his shareholders, and the culture. And working for Kelvin was a growth experience, to say the least. He gave honest feedback. He expected input from us. And early on in my career, I wasn't meeting his expectations. And he said, "Spencer, I need more from you." And here's the thing that I will always remember. He gave me 6 months to make those changes. And when I did, he promoted me. See, Kelvin understood something that I wish more leaders embrace today. That leadership isn't about just leaning into the strengths that you're already good at. It's about working on the things that slow you down and hold you back. Kelvin had strengths. He was visionary. He was decisive. He was empathetic. He was aware of strengths, his own and others. And that's how he enabled us to do something that I think was ahead of its time. We were able to kind of influence IMAX to bring Hollywood films to IMAX. Have you ever seen a Hollywood film at an IMAX theater? 30 years ago, that was kind of unheard of. IMAX didn't want to have anything to do with that. But what do I see today? Some leaders want to develop the next generation like Kelvin, but they struggle, they hit a wall. Not because their proteges don't have potential, but because they struggle giving feedback in a way that can be heard. And on the other side, the people receiving it haven't learned how to take it. Why? I believe because we have told people, just focus on your strengths. We give awards to people for just showing up in sports, and now we're paying the cost. Less growth, less resilience, more drag. And here's the good news. You can be like Kelvin, and you can lead with courage, with honesty. You can lift your project teams as long as you're willing to work on your drag and reduce that. So, is there a place for strengths-based leadership? Well, absolutely. Strengths-based leadership helps us understand what energizes us, right? It helps us understand how to lead from a place of confidence. But let's not pretend that's the whole story, because much of the struggle and the challenge that I see within organizations is an overuse of strengths, an over-reliance on strengths, and really a blind spot around how those are misapplied. For example, assertiveness becomes bullying. Empathy becomes indecision. Attention to detail becomes control freak. It's not the strength, it's the drag when misapplied. And when we take responsibility for that drag, when we reduce it, when we refine it, well, that's when culture shifts. That's when burnout fades. That's when collaboration sparks and when productivity accelerates. Not long ago, I was at a project management global summit, and the speaker was talking about strengths-based leadership. And she said, all you have to do is focus on your strengths, and it will pull up all of your weaknesses. Sounds inspiring, right? Well, for me, that's kind of like saying, if you golf, isn't that a nice set? It's beautiful, thank you so much. If you golf, that's kind of like saying, all you have to do is practice with your driver long enough, and magically, you'll be great at your putter. This is actually a pitching wedge. Does that make sense? You see, let me tell you about some of my strengths. I'm assertive and direct, but what if I'm not listening? What if I'm being defensive? What if I'm shutting down collaboration? Leaning into my strengths is not going to help, is it? It's going to make matters worse, isn't it? See, the best golfers, they have a whole set of clubs. You may be great at the driver, but if your short game is a mess, you're not going to win any championships. You can't power your way through putting. Leadership is the same. You need distance, you need accuracy, and sometimes we just need to practice with those clubs that we've been avoiding. That's it. I'm not going to hit any balls. I know you're wanting me to. I don't want to injure anybody. But we've been talking about high-speed racing. We've been talking about golfing. What's next? High jumping, of course. How many of you know Stefka Kostadinova? Come on, give her a hand. Didn't she win like create 7 world championships? I mean, she has so many records that I guess her last record was just beat last year, but it's been decades that nobody was able to beat Stefka. She's one of the most prolific high jumpers in the entire world, yes? But in 1991, I mean, it was, she was 81. It was a long time ago, European Nationals. I think she came in 10th place. But here's what I want to tell you how this relates to our topic. Stefka was so powerful as an athlete that she would take off for her runs to jump, and it caused injuries that were terrible. She actually created her own injuries because she was pushing it so hard. She was so competitive, she had to figure out ways to relax, to calm herself down. She had to figure out how to overcome her strengths. Her strengths were power and the ability to jump. But those strengths actually were causing her problems that she had to overcome. And she had to learn to take 2 more steps to slow down her takeoff so she wouldn't hurt herself. She had to change her approach so that she could be successful continually as she grew older. So what do golfing and high jumping have to do with project leadership? Everything. Because you do not become an effective project leader by doing already what you're good at. You do it by working on the things that are holding you back, the blind spots that are slowing you down. That's how you become stronger than your strengths. But there's a problem. How do we become stronger than our strengths without losing ourselves, without becoming robotic, without becoming fake? Well, the answer for me is what I call flexible authenticity. When I talk about flexible authenticity, I'm not talking about becoming difference in your competencies. For example, if you're not good at numbers, don't become a certified public accountant. If you are not good at programming, don't go out and get your programming license. There's lots of careers that I would struggle at. I'm just not built for certain things. Maybe, I don't, fit into a cockpit very well. But that's not what we're talking about. That's not what holds us back as leaders. What holds us back is rigidity in our thinking and our leadership style. Thinking that leadership has to lead only one type of way, or that we can only be one type of leader to be authentic. But authenticity isn't about predictability. Authenticity is about being principled and purposeful and adapting your leadership style for the moment without losing yourself. And this is where the research backs us up. The Hay McBair Consulting Group researched almost 4,000 executives all around the world. And what they identified was the most effective leaders used 6 different leadership styles. And this has been written about extensively. Would you like to know what those 6 leadership styles are? Number one, coercive. That demands compliance immediately. Do what I say, do it now. Is there a time for this type of leadership? Yes, we have to be very careful about that and not overuse that, because that's good for crises, it's good for certain situations, but you need to be able to do that. Second, authoritative. This is about creating a vision, about creating direction, about inviting people to come with us. This is one of the most positive styles of leadership, but it's about influencing. Third, we're moving quickly. Affiliative. This is about the heart-centered leader. This is about creating emotional bonds and harmony between people. That's an important style as well. Fourth, democratic. This is about getting everybody's opinion and insights. Now, this is great unless you're in a hurry, right? So there are times when this is not going to be effective. Next, this is not a scotophobia. The Bugatti is pace setting. This is high performance. There are some people that love to have standards and are excited by being pushed and by being motivated. And this is a great thing until you burn people out, right? So that you have to be careful with that. And lastly, coaching. And that is being able to prepare leaders for the future. Being able to ask them what's working, what's not. How do we get better? So as you look at these 6 leadership styles, I'm going to put them all up. Let's make this personal, okay? I would like for you, please, to look at those and identify which 2 are your strengths. Which 2 do you feel most comfortable with? And which 2 are least comfortable for you? And as you look at them, maybe you were silently judging them, saying, those are terrible styles, I don't like those. And I want you to think, are the 2 styles that you use the most effective in every situation? Or are they just comfortable? And are the 2 that you avoid using, are they just uncomfortable because you think they're inauthentic somehow? I mean, being effective doesn't always mean you're comfortable, does it? No. As a matter of fact, this headset's really uncomfortable. It's okay, I'll deal with it. We'll figure it out. That's what happens when you don't have hair, and so I have my sweat rags, and it slips around. That's what happens, but I'm prepared. All right, let's talk about this for just a second. Now, let's talk about something that might be a little uncomfortable. You've probably been told to just be yourself. To be who you are. Well, what if who you are is evolving? What if being authentic doesn't mean being the same, but instead it means being true to your values while adapting your behavior to be more effective? Thank you. What if it means that? Isn't that what Stefka did? Her goal was to be the best high jumper possible. But when injuries occurred, she didn't stop. She changed her approach, worked on things that were holding her back. I want you to think as a leader from being able to lead from what seem like opposite styles of leadership. For example, can you lead from your head and your heart? Can you manage people and process? Can you handle structure and flexibility? Can you be assertive and empathetic? Can you focus and pay attention to the big picture? Those are not contradictory. Those are complementary. And when you lead from both sides of leadership, not only are you more authentic, you're more effective. Okay, so we get it. We need to be authentic. It's the one characteristic that makes the most impact on project teams than any else, being authentic. Not titles, not tactics, but there are 3 places where being authentic is a challenge. And I want to share those with you so that you can be aware. The first is if you are a new leader. I want you to think back when you were a new leader. Didn't you feel like you had to have all the answers? Didn't you feel like you had to prove yourself, that you belonged? And sometimes we have to put on a show and pretend like we know more than we do. That act could get us into trouble. And sometimes leaders who are new feel like they can't be authentic, that that's a price that they're unwilling to pay. I was speaking in Indonesia at PMI conference, and the president of PMI Malaysia, his name is Dr. Joshua Netto. He was telling me, he says early in his career, he would complete his projects on time, on budget, no matter the cost. But he said there was, quote, blood on the walls. Can you hear me? There was blood on the walls, close quote. And so people didn't want to work with him anymore. So he had to learn that he can't just drive the project, he had to learn how to carry the team. And sometimes it takes a crisis for us to be able to adapt and change our leadership style. That's what happened to me when Kelvin gave me that challenge. We said, yeah, I give you 6 months. And I was able to come out of that with stronger leadership, working on things that were holding me back. You see, becoming a better leader just isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about refining. It's about expanding your toolkit. It's about being strong enough to grow. I want you to say that with me, please. Strong enough to grow. Say it again. Strong enough to grow. Say it again. Strong enough to grow. That's what it means to be stronger than your strength. So that's the first place. The second place where it's a challenge is in advocating for yourself. I want you to think about, some people think that self-advocacy is inauthentic. I was speaking at a conference in Michigan, and there was a project manager who was originally from Slovenia. She came up to me and talked to me afterwards. She was very professional. She was obviously very competent at what she did. She had 5 direct reports as a senior project manager. And maybe you'll relate to this. Many of you work for international firms that are run with managers in Germany or the UK or France, right? And she said, I had an opportunity to get promoted. And I feel like I was completely qualified for the position. But the person who got the job wasn't as qualified as me. Why did that happen? Does that ever happen to any of you? Now, as a behavioral analyst, I know I was teasing you at the beginning. I am a behavioral analyst. I could tell a little bit about her personality, and I said, did you try to get that promotion by putting your head down and working really hard and hoping you get noticed? And she said, yes, that's true. I said, you see, you have an earning style. In other words, you are not somebody that's comfortable saying, hey, choose me, here's why I'm awesome. She says, no, I don't like that. I said, the person who got the job has a winning style. What does that mean? It means that they are willing to say, hey, I can do this, I deserve it, choose me. And the hiring manager had that style. She was the strongest manager. The problem was she wasn't strong enough in a way that the moment required for her to be to get that promotion. Now that may be a little uncomfortable for some of you, and I'm going to ask you a few questions that I want you to consider. So if you have a pen and paper, take it out because I want you to write these down. Are you ready? What opportunities have I missed because I was waiting to be noticed instead of advocating for myself? When am I letting humility become invisibility? What would it look like to self-advocate without compromising my values? How can I expand my definition of authenticity to include being seen? I want you to take a minute and I want you to think of a moment that you held back instead of stepping up. What would you do differently now? Okay, that's enough. We got to move on. I got lots to cover. The third is in getting feedback. And in getting feedback, there can be a challenge from time to time. Let me tell you about John, who was an operations manager for a children's charity. He'd been with them for 18 years. He was competent, hardworking, dedicated, so much so that they gave him a promotion. The problem soon arose because people who were saying that he was a bully. So he had 2 HR complaints. His own executive team were trying to get him fired. And that's when they hired me, the executive director, to help work on getting this situation solved. See, John thought he was just being his authentic self when he was direct. He was all tactics and task lists and no connection with people. And I know Christian is going to talk about connection later, which will be fantastic. And he struggled with that. And as a result, he wasn't taking the feedback because he said, this is just, listen, I'm good at getting things done. But he didn't understand the cost, just like Dr. Joshua Netto. And it took an HR investigation for him to finally realize that he was putting not only his career, but the organization at risk. Is all feedback good feedback, folks? But what happens if you shut down feedback and don't take it? You risk people stopping to give you useful information that's going to help you improve and grow and develop in your career. How many of you have ever gotten a gift for your birthday or for a holiday that was terrible? A sweater, a skirt, a dress that you'll never wear. What did you say when they gave it to you? Did you say, are you kidding me? I'll never wear that. Take it back. Is that what you said? Pretty much. Oh my goodness. You said thank you, didn't you? You said thank you. She said thank you. She wished she did. You say thank you. Go home, try it on. If it doesn't fit, then throw it away. Just try to reframe feedback and say, can I potentially see from their perspective how that might be true about me? That could be helpful. Let me say one thing about self-advocacy that I forgot. I'm actually coaching somebody here in Europe who works for a major multinational firm. She's from Italy. She has 6 direct reports. She's amazing. And one of her direct reports from Germany, let's call him Johann, all politics and self-promotion, and was trying to take away her job. She had a earning style, he had a winning style. And she had to learn how to stand up for her position and defend it in order to be able to keep her position. It's tough, but she was able to do that in a way that maintained the dignity of her team, and her team is thriving today. So I'm saying that you can self-advocate and you can do it in a way that is professional. Now, one more thing before we get into some solutions. There is a paradox that I see when it comes to being authentic, and that is the belief that you have to be only one way of who you are. You have to behave in ways that are most comfortable. You will be challenged in your career as a project manager. There will be situations that come up that you will have to learn how to adapt and to change your approach. Usually what happens in these uncomfortable situations is people retreat to what they know, to what is most comfortable. They say, this is who I am, this is how I lead. That's not authenticity. Again, authenticity is being true to your values while shifting your behavior to be most effective in the situation. Let me tell you about Stephanie, a project manager in Canada, works for a major retail firm there. And she's a very assertive and direct leader who wants to be part of the executive C-suite. The only problem is that her directness, her assertiveness is making everybody frustrated. Her bosses, the people she works with, they're turned off. And so even though her authentic self is to be a great leader, which she is, she's got great feedback. She just gives it to people, right? Like the example when I first opened up, I said, give me an example of what you do. She says, I drop truth bombs. Do you understand truth bomb? I said, give me an example of a truth bomb. She says, well, I told my boss that his speech was about as exciting as watching paint dry. Honest? Yes. Helpful? No. So I said, okay, let's do something that I call did wells do differently. I said, what did your boss do well? And she's like, well, his talk has potential. Okay, say that. Tell him that, hey, boss, your talk has potential. What could he do differently? Well, he could punch up his visuals to create more audience interaction. Great, that's helpful, that's specific. Oh, she says, so not the truth bomb, but the cannon of kindness. If that's what you want to call it. You see, here's the thing. If you want to be successful, are you going to stay stuck of who you were 5 years ago? 10 years ago? 20 years ago? Being authentic is about growing and changing with the situation and with the demands of the current economy, the current situation. Would you agree? You want to get where you want to go, then you've got to be able to work on those things that are holding you back. Do you guys want to play a game? Let's play a game. See how well you do in Stephanie's shoes, okay? This is what I call, let's play Truth Bomb.
To play Truth Bomb, helpful or hazardous?
Okay. Do you want to switch it over, guys? Okay, so we have, all right, so here's the first question. This report makes no sense. Were you even paying attention? Is that a truth bomb? Is that helpful? Or is that hazardous? Let's see what you're coming up with. Wow, 6 people think that's helpful. That's awesome. You get extra points if you've ever said that, by the way. If you're honest, go ahead, put that in there. This is all anonymous. No one's keeping track of this. Okay, so good. 114, 124 of you say it's hazardous. And 16, 17 of you are honest. You've said that. Okay, so here's what I want you to try instead. Say something like this. Listen, you know, what can we do to really keep this meeting on track? Can we be a little more focused next time? Something like that. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Did I get it? Nope, I'm pressing the wrong button. There we go. Honestly, that meeting was a total waste of everyone's time. There you, oh my goodness. You guys have said that. I think that's great. So what if we said, I think we can tighten up the agenda and stay more focused next time. All right, here's another one. That presentation was solid content. We might need to punch up the visuals to keep engagement high. Hazardous or helpful? This is actually, this is constructive feedback for sure. Glad some of you have said that. Next, we got to keep this moving. We got lots going on. I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking. That's almost always a truth bomb, by the way. Last one. You've improved in a lot in this area, and here's where I think we can push it even further. You know, this is great. This is constructive feedback. This is also with a little bit of a coaching flair. And so this is what I want you to practice. Just, you know, even though you may be naturally very honest and direct, is it helpful? Is it getting you where you need to go? Okay, you guys ready to change it up a little bit? Would you like to know what your leadership styles are? I know I gave you the opportunity to kind of guess which are your 2 strengths. But I want to do something a little different, and it's going to be hard in this room, so I'm going to ask your indulgence. I want to do what's called a human scattergram. Can we switch back to the other presentation, please? Excellent. So I need Anea to come up and help me, but I need you to stand up, all of you, for sure this time, for fun. I mean, this is going to be serious. You may need to move around the room. There's lots of room. Listen, there's room on the stage with me. There's room in the front of the room. There's room in the aisles. And here's what we're going to do. I want you to pretend, even if you're uncomfortable moving from your seat, you can still do this in your mind. But if you are and you want to move around the room, that's fine. If you come up on stage, I'm a little sweaty. You might get touched by a drop of sweat. If you're okay with that, I want you up here. It's fine. Now, I'm going to read 2 adjectives. Enea is going to translate so we make sure that you get this exactly right. This is a leadership exercise. You have to choose. There's no equivocating, and you got to do it quickly, okay? So I'm going to read, for example, are you more persuasive? You have to step forward over that tape that's in front of your feet, okay? Or are you more humble? You're going to step back from that tape. Do you understand? Persuasive forward, humble back. Everybody got it? We're going to do that several times. So here we go. Persuasive forward or humble back. You choose. Second. Loud forward, soft-spoken back. Daring forward, prepared back. Impulsive forward, steady back. Analytical forward, accurate back. Risk taker forward, sensitive back. Results oriented forward, perfectionist back. Quick forward, deliberate back. Quick? You're good.
Okay, just say
Quick forward. Listen, this makes it all easy to look at when she's up here. Quick forward, deliberate back.
Okay, so
Friendly forward, discreet back. Assertive forward, careful back. Controlling forward, supportive back. Motivating forward, thoughtful back. Energetic forward, reserved back. Spontaneous forward, predictable back. Okay, so how many of you ended up in front of the line? Raise your hand. Okay, I want you to look around the room. All the people that, normally what I would do, because this room is so small, we're going to keep you in your chairs because we need to move fast. These are people that are typically more direct in communication, more fast-paced, more analytical. What do I mean by direct? Direct means turn on the light. Okay, how many of you ended up behind the line? Raise your hand. Typically more indirect. What do I mean by indirect? Would you please turn on the light? Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this one more time. This time we're going to go left or right. Okay, you ready? Here we go. If you're more challenging, and this, by the way, is left, and this is right. You got it? Okay, if you're more challenging to the left, agreeable to the right. Decisive to the left, sociable to the right. Adventuresome to the left, deliberate to the right. Diplomatic to the left, considerate to the right. Competitive to the left, easygoing to the right. Stubborn to the left, sweet to the right. Bold to the left, charming to the right. Admirable to the left, kind to the right. Forceful to the left, patient to the right. Skeptical to the left, receptive to the right. Trustworthy to the left, generous to the right. Concrete to the left and compassionate to the right. Okay, thank you so much, Enea. So now stay there, you're not done, don't you sit down. You are not done. Okay, so here's the deal. So this was the line that you were supposed to see. Left or right. Now, really quickly, what I want you to see is the people who are ended up in front of the tape are going to be more direct, more indirect behind the tape. People, if you ended up on the left side, how many of you ended up on the left side? Are typically more task-oriented. It's about getting stuff done. If you ended up on the right side, you're typically more people-oriented. Would that be true? People first, task first, depending on which quadrant you're in. Okay, I'm going to very quickly just give you a little more information before you sit down. So these are some more descriptives of people in front of the line. Active, fast-paced, bold, thoughtful. Both are all strengths, right? None of these are weaknesses. But over here, left side, more questioning, skeptical, logic-focused. Over here, more accepting, receptive, and people-focused. If we had more time, I would show you how to do this live. In our communication class, I will teach you how to identify people's behaviors on your own. Now, here's what I want you to look at really quickly before you sit down. I want you to look at these adjectives, and I want you to put a mental note by every adjective that describes you. Now, if you ended up in front of the line on the left side, you should be in the dominance quadrant. Does that make sense? If you ended up in front of the line on the right side of the line, you should have more check marks in the extroversion quadrant. Does this make sense? All right, did you all end up in the right quadrant? Now, how many of you, by a raise of hands, were in the dominance quadrant? Okay, I want you to look around the room right now. These are the people that are probably good at being coercive and authoritative. Would you agree? Maybe you struggle with the affiliative coaching, the affiliative style. You're great at pace setting, you're great at goals, but maybe coaching is hard for you because you like to be in control. How many of you were in the high extrovert quadrant? Listen, you're going to be great at authoritative, you're going to be great at coaching, also great at pace setting. Maybe you're going to struggle with the with the coercive, and here's why. You probably like to be liked. High dominants don't care if you like them. How many of you were in the patient quadrant? Listen, these are the nicest of all the project managers. These are the good people. They care about the team. They care about making sure everyone's cared for. They put everybody first before themselves. Is that true? You do, don't you? You're really good at the affiliative, good at the coaching, good at the pace setting. You will struggle with coercive and maybe authoritative. Does that resonate with you? How many of you were in the conformity? You're the ones who've been fact-checking me the whole time, haven't you? I don't know if that's accurate. This is all fluff, right? These are the people who are wanting details, they want information, so they're going to be good at authoritative. This is what we do it. This is how we do it. It's not their way. High dominance loves things their way. High conformity wants things the right way. And so they will be good at pace setting, being authoritative. They might struggle. They can also be coercive. Sometimes they get confused of being high dominant, but it's not about being high dominant. It's about controlling to do things the right way. They will struggle with the coaching and the affiliative style. Was this helpful? So go ahead, take your seats. Thank you. Give yourselves a hand. There's a lot that I could say about that, but we've got to ramble on because I've got a few things that in only 7.5 minutes. So here's what I want to say about friends. You have great engines. You may feel like you're running really hard and you have great strengths, and you do. You're wonderful people. But sometimes it feels like you just got something dragging, holding you back. I want you to think of today as not destroying your weaknesses, but just making your weaknesses non-weaknesses. Just reducing them a little bit, reducing the drag so that you can run faster and lead faster and be more effective. In high-performance racing, you've got these powerful machines, and yet the teams spend millions of dollars just reducing the drag that can save fractions of a second, and that fraction of a second can mean the difference between first place and forgotten. Now, when I talk about flexible authenticity, this is how you become stronger than your strengths. You work on that drag. But when I talk about this, I need you to stay in your lane. I'm not asking you to, be a certified public accountant if you suck at numbers. If you faint at the sight of blood, please don't be a surgeon. Okay, I'm not going to be a great F1 driver. Again, just not built for that. But I'm going to give you now 3 suggestions on how you can become stronger than your strengths. And I'm going to do it very fast. So stick with me. Here are the 3 suggestions. Number 1, you've got to increase your self-awareness. Know what your leadership styles are. Work with a coach. Get a behavioral assessment. I will give you a free one if you want. I know we did this was an unscientific, it's based on theory for sure, but it's only 50 to 70% accurate what I gave you. You want something that's 95%, I have a tool that I can give you. And for those of you who enrolled in my class, you're going to get that for free tomorrow. But have something, get a 360 assessment. Become aware of your strengths and your weaknesses. And please, instead of, when you get feedback, be humble about your weaknesses. I believe we were created with weaknesses for a very good reason, to keep us humble. I also believe that that is an opportunity that we need to struggle, to grow, to develop. We were built to struggle. And I'm going to share with you some of the research that says that we're happier when we do. But when you receive feedback about yourself, are you protective or are you receptive? Please be receptive. Second, what you're going to do is you're going to just focus on one. So for example, if you are naturally not good at listening, that's great, work on that. I want you to check all the weaknesses that you have and pick just one. And so for example, I have an assessment. I know you're not going to be able to read this, but you'll be able to download it based on which quadrant that you were in. All of these are different things that can be holding you back as a project manager. These are blocks, these are blind spots. And so if you are then you'll get all these, high conformity, it's all different. So let's say, for example, you're a high extrovert and you can't shut up when people are talking. What do you want to do instead? You want to identify the opposite of that trait, which is listening patiently before responding. What if you are naturally conflict avoidant or you're not speaking up in meetings? What you want to do instead of that is be courageously confident. What if you, for example, are too controlling and dominant, or maybe too perfectionistic? You want to strategically delegate. That's the opposite. Now, I don't have time to talk about this article that I've written, but I'll give you a copy of this article, the idea of balancing both sides of our leadership. And you can download that in just a second. The last step is you need to measure every single day. I would love for you to partner with somebody next to you and let's see, I think the 26th of November is not a weekend. I'd love for you to put it in your calendar where you check with somebody here in this room and you email each other or you phone each other and say how you're doing on the one weakness that you're working on. You measure every day, and here's how you do it. I created a spreadsheet for you, and what I do is I ask myself, this is a self-coaching technique. It's called the daily questions. It's called, did I do my best? So for example, if the behavior I have chosen to work on is listening patiently before responding, I ask myself every day, did I do my best to listen patiently before responding? And I honestly rate myself on a scale from 1 to 10. I average that every week. This does 2 things. It focuses your mind on the behavior you want, and you do not judge yourself when you struggle. Instead, you create curiosity. It creates curiosity about when you are struggling. It's a great way to self-coach. Those are your 3 steps. Okay, let's wrap up. I love climbing mountains. You see, when you climb a mountain, it causes you to use muscles and stretch in ways that are uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's amazing. How many of you like to climb mountains? Yeah, when you get to the top, isn't it wonderful? It's euphoric. You can see these views. You're so excited. But let's be honest, getting there sucks, doesn't it? Working on your weaknesses can suck. It takes effort. I want you to take your fingers and interlock them like this. Go ahead, do that now. Now I want you to move them 1 finger up. How does that feel? Feels uncomfortable, right? Working on your weaknesses is uncomfortable, but here's the good news. When you do uncomfortable things, it's good for you. When life is too easy, and how many of you think, listen, I know you have it hard, but how many of you have a microwave oven? How many of you have like a vacuum cleaner or automatic car washers if you want? How many of you can go order, even here in Sofia, foreign food if you don't want to cook? How many of you realize that your great-grandparents didn't have it so easy? How many of you realize they had to make their own Bulgarian cheese instead of just go to the store? You know what I'm talking about? But they were happier. I guarantee it, they had less anxiety. It turns out, according to Stanford psychiatrist Anna Lemke, that when we have too much pleasure, the brain responds by releasing less dopamine, less serotonin, less oxytocin. But when we struggle, when we climb a mountain, when we talk to a stranger on an elevator, when we work on a non-strength to make it a non-weakness, the brain rewards us by releasing oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, the feel-good drugs. When you do something hard, your brain rewards you. Now, please don't misunderstand me. 5 minutes, that's more than enough. There are some of you here that are perfectionists. And I've been talking about working on your weaknesses, and this can be causing anxiety for you. If that's the case, please forgive me. I only want you to work on one. And if you just got 5% better, that's all I want. I'm not asking you to make a non-strength a strength. I'm just asking you to work on one thing a little at a time. Don't work on everything. Here's the good news. We have so many weaknesses that it will take eternity for us to work on all of them. That's the part that keeps us humble. Just work on the one that's hurting you the most right now. Now, I would love if you would give me feedback. This is an opportunity for you to download the article I talked about, the assessment. If you want, there is a paid assessment. It's a scientific one. It's about 45 euros, but here's the thing. I know only about 2 or 3 of you will take me up on this. If you do, I will spend an hour with you for free. Or if you enrolled in my class, you'll get that assessment for free. But this is for you to download everything and that I've talked about. Okay, I have one last story, and then I've finished. This one is personal. Not long ago, I was talking to a behavioral analyst who uses one of the same tools that I do, except for he uses this for engaged couples to see if they're going to be compatible. He says, I can look at their profiles and tell you if they're going to be happy or not. And I smiled and I'm like, I disagree. Because I believe any two people can be happy together. If you value each other's strengths, if you appreciate each other's differences, if you care enough to adapt your behavior in service of the relationship. Take my wife and me, who's here in the back. You heard we've been married 39 years. Well, this consultant would have said not compatible. They would have told her to run. We are opposite in every measurable way. I'm high dominant, she's low dominant. I'm high extrovert, she's quiet and reserved. She's patient, I'm working on it. I'm low conformity, she's high conformity. I'm tall, she's fun-sized. She's a night person, I'm a morning person. I don't know how we can be more opposite. And yet it works. Why? Because we honor our differences and we grow with them together and we laugh at them often. She cries sometimes. But even though our behaviors are different, our values are the same. That's flexible authenticity. One Sunday, we were in Los Angeles and we were driving downtown to go to a church, and we were going through the neighborhood that had lots of Spanish signs, and I was reading them out loud like I sometimes do. And there was a sign that said, pupuseria, and I said, what's that? And she laughed and said, I read that sign too, but I read it inside my head like she sometimes does. And then she says, you're less extroverted than you used to be, Spencer, and I'm afraid that I did that to you. And I'm sorry. I said, nonsense. You didn't make me less extroverted. I've expanded myself because of you, and you've become more extroverted because of me. We've grown better because of each other, not we haven't become different people. We've expanded ourselves together. And in the morning, I love to talk. She doesn't, so I wait. When she's excited to talk, I listen, not because I want to, because her heart is more important than my habits. And that's leadership. That's partnership. That's what it means to be stronger than your strengths. And if we can do this in our relationship, you can do this with your peers, with your teams, with your organizations. Friends, we live in a world that tells us that happiness is the absence of discomfort. That growth is optional, that strengths are enough, but I don't believe that. And if you're like me and you believe you want to have the attention you deserve, you want to be heard, you want to be the leader that inspires your teams, and you believe that growth is not optional, it's necessary, and that strengths are not enough, and you want to surround yourself with people that encourage you and invite you to be stronger tomorrow than you were today, and who by themselves lead with example to work on reducing their weaknesses, then you will learn that's what makes us happy. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us authentic. There are people who say, I don't care what anybody else thinks, I'm just being real. That's not authenticity, that's an excuse not to grow. Real authenticity is doing the work to evolve, to lead, to love, to show up stronger for your family, for your team, and for your purpose. Now, I just have one final question for you. Will you just be who you've always been? Or will you become that leader that you were meant to be? Will you choose to be stronger than your strengths? Thank you.